Welcome to episode 3 of my Let's Play of Spelunky. I'm Psychedelic Eyeball, and our journey in the mines will continue. So, from our last playthrough, we have learned that vases can be pretty dangerous whenever you just run into them as you whip them. So, you need to stay far away from them or throw stuff inside them just in order to make sure that any enemy that could be inside will immediately die upon contact. Now that an arrow has lost its pointy tip, it's no longer harmful to you, but you can still be knocked around with it whenever you get hurt, so be careful with whenever you're handling it. So while it doesn't deal any damage to you, it also won't deal any damage to enemies, so you have to keep that in account if you decide to carry them around. But with that said, you can still use armless arrow tips just in order to make sure that you trigger traps, break vases from afar in order to make sure that there's no enemy inside, and all sort of other various things that you can think of. The potential is limitless. After all, we're talking about a game where the little rats that are roaming all over the place can be useful for something, so this is something that you need to think of. Everything in this game has a rhyme and reason, and it's up to you to find out what it is. The only thing that I really don't like from the mines are the spider webs, because as you're seeing right now, all that they're doing is delaying my collecting of gold without doing anything meaningful or purposeful to the gameplay in particular. Sometimes it can get in your way in order to make it so that you won't be able to fight off enemies, but most of the time they are just pretty much inconveniences. Welcome to the one type of level that every single person loves. Okay, I'm just gonna stop here right now. So, occasionally you can get dark levels, which make it really tricky for you to move all over the place. So, here's another shop. We have a web gun here, which is kind of the useless item in the game, as well as a camera and a mystery box. For the purpose of this Let's Play, I'm just gonna pretty much see if the mystery box ends up being worthwhile. Essentially, it can have a random item, and out of it we got a machete. But we essentially paid more money for the machete than we normally would have paid for if we bought it by itself into a shop. Honestly, most of the time the mystery box will just end up screwing you over your money, but occasionally you will luck out. So I'm just gonna keep buying all the mystery boxes that I see for a couple of updates in order to see if we end up being screwed over more than often by it. And what we've collected or bought is a bag of bombs. These are more expensive, but you get 12 bombs out of the deal, which is really good. And yet, those are not really monsters per se. I mean, they're listed under monsters, but they're more collectibles. If you collect them, you get $5,000, which is one of the reasons why you will want to look out for dark stages, because even though they can be very hazardous, they can also make you a very, very rich person. At least the good thing with dark levels is that you can never encounter more than one dark stages in every location in the game. Now that we got the dark stage out of the way, we won't see any more, at least not in the mine. But if we move to another location, then we might be able to encounter a second one, or maybe a third one if we get farther and farther ahead in the game. Honestly, I've never had a run where I had to pretty much go through every single dark stage, but this can happen if you're unlucky. And yeah, the arrow trap ended up being listed in my journal because I ended up destroying it. The only way for traps to appear into the manual is if you either destroyed them or if they killed you once. So for some obstacles that we will see later in the game and cannot be destroyed, the only way to see them appear in your journal will pretty much be to waste a playthrough by dying to them. Uh-oh. It's really scary whenever the ghost pops out in a dark level, but we're still not done here. We're gonna kill the spider to get paste, but that's not the entire thing. Whenever the ghost touches jewels, they turn into diamonds, and these are extra valuable. Normally, a blue jewel will be worth like $1,200 at this point in the game, but diamonds are worth $5,000. So essentially, while the ghost itself is a very scary and potentially threatening opponent, he can also help you rack up a crazy amount of cash if you're patient enough to wait for him, and if you have the ability to outmaneuver him. So I think it is time to finally cover up the new items that we've collected. The Machete is an alternate melee weapon that you get. It deals more damage than the whip, and it can allow you to even destroy enemies that are unconscious on the ground. But the backside of it is you pretty much have to carry it everywhere in order to be able to use it. So once again, if you have golden idols or damsels or whatever, then you end up having to juggle with all of your items all of the time, which can be pretty annoying to do. So it's up to you to see if this weapon is worth the trouble, but it's still a clear upgrade from the whip, so if you can afford to carry it around, by all means do so. As for the other item that I've collected, it is bomb paste. You can buy it in shops, find it in crates, and you will always get paste whenever you kill a giant spider. And I'll show later on what it does, because this one level will allow me an opportunity to demonstrate what the paste does. Okay, that place is clearly dangerous for my damsel. Oh my god! I somehow got her killed, and I'm pretty sure that if I didn't interfere here, she probably would have been okay. Yeah, she took 2 arrows in the face and back and ended up being impaled on spikes. That is brutal. So we've just bought the compass, which allows you to show you where the exit is, and okay, this one mystery box, however, turned out perfectly well, because normally a freeze ray is supposed to cost like $10,000, while the base value of the mystery box is $8,000. But that's not all of it. I'm also gonna demonstrate what the mattock does. It's a weapon/utility tool that allows you to dig through the ground, and this makes it perfectly viable for exploring, because ow. Okay, I tried to sacrifice the scorpion to Kelly, but I ran out of time. So what happens if you bomb the altar? Yeah, that's right. Spider apocalypse happens. You pretty much get swarmed by 1,000,000 of spider, and it's you that has to deal with the cleanup. Or just the running away, which is probably the best course of action in this one instance. And by the way, there are several other bad things which can happen if you piss off Callie, and we'll see them all eventually. So, okay, I guess that we're gonna see what the pace does on the next level, so I guess I was mistaken. And yeah, I brought the mattock along because in the last update we saw what the freeze ray did, so might as well not repeat ourselves. So, alright, the mystery box did us... God damn it, screw you, shopkeeper. You ended up ripping me off for the last time, so this is why I'm gonna keep buying items from you. So what I've just bought is the spike shoes. These are a wonderful items because these make your jumps really high powered and allows you to stomp everything to death to your heart's content. Instead of dealing 1 damage whenever you stomp an enemy, with the boots we now deal 3 damage. Yeah, the golden idols now are wired with traps, and in this instance, it's a giant boulder of death and destruction. Yeah, you thought that it was going to be as easy as in the tutorial? Forget about it! Also, compared to the boulders in the original Spelunky, the freeware game that I'm talking about, these ones are far more nastier and much riskier. Oh, speaking of riskier, yeah. Powder boxes can be hazardous even when you're pretty far away from them, so you really gotta be careful because you never know whenever you'll throw an item on them and they'll just end up flying back on your face. I could use a rope to get up there, but screw that. Who cares whenever you have the powers of Mario Brothers? Also, just in case you're wondering why I keep dropping the mattock in order to attack enemies instead of just swinging it in the face of my opponents, it's that the mattock cannot be swung whenever you're in the air, so it's much more riskier to attack enemies whenever they fly around like that because you don't really have a way to attack them, and finally you just end up running the risk of destroying tiles that you don't want to destroy. So So this is what bomb paste does. You can throw it on walls, still stick there, and this makes destruction pretty much a really easy prospect for you to do, because you can destroy any part of the landscape that you want, even if it's unreachable, and you can do that without having to resort to timing or any really hazardous things. And it's also really good for killing enemies, because if you throw the bomb on enemies, as you've seen with the giant spider earlier, it'll stick on enemies as well. And by bringing the key to the chest, we get a secret item, which is the Ujat hide. This one allows you to see jewels that are hidden underground, and it has another purpose that I'll show later. And yeah, I'm definitely gonna come back to boulders a little bit later, because there's another quirk with them that I didn't really explain yet. And here we meet Tunnel Man. This guy builds us shortcuts, and in the original Spelunky, you could play as him, which he was really fun to play with because he was armed with a pickaxe and he could destroy any single part of the level that he wanted just by swinging it at him. By giving him items, you'll allow him to unlock shortcuts that will allow you to start much later into the game. So here we go, we finally reach a new location. We're now in the jungle, a place which is full of trees that somehow managed to grow without sunlight. And this place is quite hazardous. In fact, this is probably gonna be the huge roadblock for a whole lot of first-time players, because the game gets really more difficult once you get there. So we have one of the new enemies into the jungle, which are the killer bees. They're really fast and spastic, pretty hard to hit, and you can sometimes find them into levels because, as you've seen just below, there's like a giant beehive and there's a bunch of bees protecting their treasure. So we're gonna have to go and see what the beehive has in store for us, but let's go check out the other places first, because we can see that there's a golden idol, and there's most likely a trap here, so let's see what happens when we pick it up. Ah, come on, way to not learn. Oh shit. Yeah, that was a pretty close one. Yeah, whenever you pick the idol, the bridge right beneath you will pretty much vanish. But this is by far the easiest trap to deal with in the game. You will be caught by this trap exactly once, and oh shit, yeah, that's the queen bee. It's very dangerous, but it gives a valuable item. Ah, okay, I just panicked, and therefore I was unable to properly fight the bee that was in my face. So yeah, we've met our end into the gigantic beehive of the jungle. You can randomly find it in some of the jungle levels, and there's always a whole lot of bees, as well as a queen bee, which will have a valuable item for you. Hopefully we will learn what it will be into another update where I will successfully clear the beehive. So let's see what the jungle has in store for us into another video.